So yeah, this is part two of this discussion now on Patty Jenkins and the various controversies. I wanted to end it there so as not to make the video too long. So we've talked about the Trump, we've talked about the supposed sexual assault that Diana was supposed to have of this person, which all didn't make sense. So I want to talk now about some problems with the movie, but that have come up, and I do agree slightly with, but I don't agree wholeheartedly with. So one of the things that critiques that have come up, again, it's in the same genre of critiques of these men who seem to really have a problem with kind of modern day feminism. And there is legitimate problems to be had with modern day feminism. There's legitimate problems to be had with modern day capitalism. There's legitimate problems to be had with modern day Trump supporters, modern day, everybody doesn't seem to be able to try and empathize and see things from another person's point of view, which is actually one of the good things about this film, funnily enough, Wonder Woman 1984, which is that actually, for all the bad things about it, the message is actually quite a good message, and it's a message of empathy and being able to see through people's points of view and trying to be the hero in yourself. And I also really love the fact that, in the end, what she does to defeat the bad guy, what she does to defeat, the Maxwell Lord, is talk with him. She never tries to harm any individual in this movie, and it is so important. I've said this before. Think about Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame. In the whole movie, not one person, not even the beacon of morality himself in the whole MCU, Captain America, ever has a conversation with Thanos to say why what he's doing is wrong. Not once is an argument given. The only reason they beat Thanos is through they can punch harder than Thanos can punch. Right? I'm not saying I have some problems with the way this is depicted in this Wonder Woman movie, because I still think they could have put more action in while still remaining consistent to that message. It seems like she wanted, the only way she could figure out to put that message in was to stop Diana doing any of her warrior cool stuff. And that wasn't cool. You could have had Diana taking out people in a way that she subdues them, but make sure that she subdues them in a way that, is entertaining, visually entertaining for people to watch as superhero movie fans. That could have been done. The two didn't, take away from each other. But nonetheless, the point is that this is one of the first superhero movies, in fact, apart from Wonder Woman 1, where it's done again, except she kills Ares at the end after having the conversation with him. But in this one, she actually just has the conversation. No one in Infinity Endgame actually has the conversation with Thanos to explain, to him, to rationalize, to try and argue, to try and debate the point of why wiping out half the people in the world is right. And that's why certain people even are on Team Thanos. They're like, yeah, he was just an environmentalist. As a villain, he was just an environmentalist. I think the only other film, even though I'm not like a huge fan of it, that actually has some kind of debate or conversation over why the villain is wrong is maybe Black Panther, where the Killmonger actually gives his reasons for what, for why he's doing what he does, and then there's some kind of conversation, except the conversation isn't with Killmonger himself. The conversation is, Black Panther decides to change his ways and open up Wakandan society. So again, the bad guy is essentially beaten through who can hit the hardest, who's the strongest, and whatever. And I think this is a crucial message in Wonder Woman, which is why I wish it was a better film. It's a crucial message to give kids that, hey, a lot of this movies you see, the good guy, can only defeat the bad guy through punching him into submission, as opposed to trying to teach and possibly, rehabilitate rather than punish. And I think this is a great message, that is what a true hero should do, and a true good person should do. They shouldn't resort to trying to destroy their enemies before trying to reach out and talk to them. Because if you try and destroy your enemy, all you'll do is create another enemy, or make that enemy worse, or make that enemy more innovative in them trying to destroy you. It's just a vicious cycle. Rehabilitating, making friends with those who were once your enemies is a much better way to go about life. I mean, obviously, if your enemies will not, as they say in Game of Thrones, bend the knee, or will not, give in, then of course, you're gonna have to deal with it a different way. But for the most part, it's a good value to have, to try and reach out a hand to the person that is your enemy, as opposed to try and destroy them. Because if you try and destroy them, they'll be trying to destroy you, and eventually you'll both make each other's lives worse off. And I think in the world that we're living in now, where we see, people just bombing each other, trying to bomb, terrorists into submission, trying to bomb the Islamic world into submission, and then the Islamists are trying to, do their own thing to, where there's no sense of diplomacy, conversation. We see where that takes us, the road that takes us. It takes us to a very dangerous and hostile world, where loads are caught in the middle of the hostilities and enemyship of powerful men and powerful people. So let's move on from there. There's a lot to talk about the man-hating in this film. Now, this is something I kind of agree with, but again, I don't think it's the man-hating itself that is problematic in this film. I think what's problematic in Wonder Woman 1984 concerning man-hating is just how rubbish the writing is for it. It's so in your face, on the nose, about the man-hating. It lacks any nuance, and quite frankly, it's just, it makes Wonder Woman, this beacon of hope, this great character, seem very, very mean. I mean, there's points in this movie, it just baffled me that everything good that was achieved in Wonder Woman 1 was kind of just undone in this movie. It was like, I want to compare a couple of scenes. So there's the scene in this Wonder Woman 1984 when Steve Trevor is just trying to, he's in this new body and he's trying to get Diana's attention. And she shouts at him, "Stop following me," And then there's another scene where there's a guy who's a politician or something like that, who works at the White House, who Diana is trying to, he's trying to speak to Diana. I guess he fancies her, maybe he likes her, and he's trying to speak to her, and she's annoyed by him, and she just walks away from him without even, very, very rudely. And it just seems kind of unnecessary. It's like it's a party, people come there to socialize. He's trying to talk to you. He hasn't touched you. He hasn't done anything. Just say, oh, I'm sorry, I'm busy. I have things to do. I need to go and see that person or whatever. It just seemed very mean-spirited for somebody as elevated as Diana. to not be interested that this guy's working at the White House and blah, blah, blah. And what I wanted to compare it to is in the first Wonder Woman, when the Samir, who is the Arabic guy, is talking to Wonder Woman in the beginning, and he's commenting on her beauty, and he's saying how much he, fancies, how beautiful Diana is. He's macking onto her a little bit, and she's very sternly, one back off, but she deals with it with wit and grace. She talks to him, and then after a while, she even develops a kind of thing to like him and to understand him a little bit better, to understand his bravado a little bit better, and realize that, she was being a little bit judgmental the way she was, with him. She learns and grows from that relationship. And even though, yes, he was wrong for being so, objectifying her and looking at her, as, a conquest as opposed to a potential ally and friend and equal, and that was wrong, and she put him in his place. She had that language battle where they were battling, between, who could speak the most languages, and she shows him how smart she is. And that, no, don't just take me for a pretty woman. I'm actually an intellectual who can take you out in a battle of wits. That's how Wonder Woman deals with it in the first one. In this one, she's just leave me alone. Stop following me. Just walks away from a guy who's mid-speech talking to her, and it lacked any. It was just like, sure, I don't even care if Wonder Woman or Diana does that in real life, or that's something she might do. Why are you showing that in film? Is that an interesting scene? Does it develop her as a character? What does it do for her as a character to show this? Nothing. It does nothing. Is it supposed to be some good example to girls that this is how you should deal with men who, are a little bit kind of whatever when they're talking to you? I maybe. I mean, but so let me just finish off what she does with this guy, because this is what makes it worse. She walks away from the guy who is the guy working in Washington. She walks away from him, but then later on in the film, when she needs him, because she needs to get into the White House, he works in the White House, with the president. When she needs him, because she needs to get into the White House with the president, then she's all like using her sexuality to entice him and say, oh yeah, no, I really would love you to give me a tour around the White House because I need you now. And it was just awful. Again, terrible example. Like, this is Wonder Woman who never uses her sexuality as a kind of weapon like that. She always uses her smarts and intelligence and whatever to show that she is equal to men. She doesn't need to use that. She's got it. She's got it in abundance. But she doesn't need to use that to get ahead in life. And I thought that scene was horrible. It was horrible writing. It was badly written as well. The dialogue didn't sound naturalistic. Nothing about this film sounds naturalistic. And I think that's the major problem with the film. So in terms of the man-hating in the film, I don't think that the man-hating is necessarily a bad thing. I think the man-hating is just badly written, like everything else in this movie. It's the writing and dialogue, especially in the first half of this movie, after she leaves, after we leave the Olympics and we start with Wonder Woman and Diana in the 80s, it is all of that stretched for about an hour that is just terrible. And then the fact that they didn't make up for that with good action made this film just... you can't defend Patty Jenkins on this. And quite frankly, as I've said in another video, she has to go. She has to go. And if Warner Brothers move ahead with her as director of Wonder Woman, I think she's going to tank this IP forever. It's a bad idea to have given her $200 million budget and not said, look, we have to have some oversight into this, is terrible. People were telling her this looks corny and she wouldn't listen. There are bits of Wonder Woman 1 that looked corny, which I defended her on because overall it was good. But that was because the writing was good. When you have a good, witty script, even a cheesy film can be good. That's why Spider-Man 1 and 2 are good. That's why Superman 1 and 2 are good. Spider-Man 1 and 2, it has a good, okay script. It's a little bit cheesy, but the action makes up for it. The spectacular action and how, bringing that comic book feel to life in the early Donner movies where it had a little bit of cheese in there. The writing was the wit of the script was what made that film work, and the acting work by Christopher Reeve. The two together made, the script was written by the guy who wrote The Godfather. He did one of the versions of this script, so it was very witty and lively. Yeah, and it's the same with the Wonder Woman script. Very witty and lively, the whole script. So that's why some of the cheesiness actually worked in that context. In this one, it's just absolutely awful dialogue in the beginning, and the dialogue ruins it. I think anyone saying that Kristen Wiig was good in the second half of this movie. In the first half of this movie, she was awful. And all her interactions with Max Lord in the first half of this movie were complete bullshit. And, if you want to talk about some kind of feminist or anti-feminist reading of this film, that was the most ridiculous thing. You have this PhD, successful woman who's being treated like if she's some kind of troll that shouldn't even be looked at, right? But she's a very bright, brilliant, clever woman who works in a museum, who is a doctor. And she is just completely enamored by this clown that Pedro Pascal is playing. Immediately, nothing just out of nothing, no feeling. I had no sense of any sexual chemistry between Max Lord and Barbara Minerva. It was all just fake, and it was just stupid. All of their conversations were stupid. Oh, you should use some cream on your face, because it was just anyone who's watched the movie knows what I'm talking about when I say you should use this cream on your face, especially a beautiful woman like you. Everything Maxwell Lord was doing, I didn't find that this was a seductive guy. I just thought this was a stupid clown that no woman would be attracted to. And so the fact that he seduced Barbara because she's so desperate just made her look so pathetic that it was unbelievably pathetic. There's pathetic, and then there's really, really fucking pathetic. And there are guys I've seen in real life who are who are far more charming and have a far better approach than Maxwell Lord had, with very, very nerdy girls who don't, who are insecure with men, and they would never go for a guy like that. It would be very rare for them to go for a guy like that in that particular scenario, especially an intellectual. She's a doctor, for God's sake. She works at the Smithsonian. She's a bloody zoologist and all of this kind of stuff. And you think some slick, oily salesman, and I'm not saying that there couldn't have been an attraction developed, but the way it was done was so unfucking believable. And that was a terrible crime, in terms, I don't think they should have had any romantic interest between Barbara and Max. They should have had some other connection, which is why he's able to take the stone from her. in the film. It was just awful. All of that was awful. Every scene between the two of them was awful. I didn't believe he was seducing her. He just looked like really weird. Just really, really weird performance by Pedro Pascal. Really, all through the movie, but certainly in the beginning of the movie, he was awful. Anyone saying he was good? No, wasn't good. Neither was Kristen Wiig until halfway through the movie, where she started being a normal, strong person, right? And I'm not saying it because she was a nerdy person and that archetype can never work. The archetype can work. It was just the dialogue didn't make sense. It wasn't realistic. Nothing they were saying held true or seemed like a genuine conversation. That was the problem with the first half of this movie. And that's across the board. That's between Diana and Steve. That's between, Max and Barbara and anybody else in the film at all. They just weren't having real conversations, and it was taking you out of the film. And for such a fantastical concept, you need a really, really grounded script for you to believe the fantastical concept of this stupid wishing stone. So that's me talking about the man-hating controversy in this film. And yeah, so those are the biggest controversies in the Wonder Woman 1984 film that I wanted to talk about. I hope you've enjoyed my discussion of this. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I want to... I guess if there's anything else I want to comment on, I will do another video. But the two biggest controversies are this, I just think are nothing. And I want to defend Patty Jenkins because as much as I dislike this movie, and I think she did a terrible job, and I think she should be given producer or whatever in the next Wonder Woman, I don't think she betrayed the character of Wonder Woman in the way that Man of Steel betrayed the character of Superman, or Batman v Superman betrayed the character of Batman and Superman. I don't think it's that far. I think this is a version of Wonder Woman that exists, and certainly there was a lot of homage to the Linda Carter show. My problem is it was poorly executed, poorly written. Nothing in it is completely offensive in and of itself. If it were written better, that's all it is. And the fact that she couldn't see that, and if it were directed better as well, with all the cheesiness and the playing it up for the cheesiness, if it were directed better and written better, and this is Patty Jenkins was on the writing, Patty Jenkins was on the directing, and both were done poorly. And I think the action as well. A lot of people I'm seeing saying that she should have had a sword and shield. You don't need a sword and shield to have a good action scene, right? You can just have somebody, a warrior, using warrior skills, fighting, kicking, punching, doing different kind of martial arts moves, and it would have been fine, right? You don't need her having whatever. It was the overuse of the lasso that just got goofy. That was what was basically it. She just needed to go in and be a warrior, and that would have solved a lot of problems with this movie. So apart from that, I can't think of anything else. I just wanted to defend, as I said, Patty Jenkins on these two controversies about the film, because the film has a good heart, comes from a good place. I have no doubt in my mind, even though I think she's incredibly prideful, and obviously the accolades went to Patty Jenkins' head very quick for her to make this movie and be telling Warner Brothers executives no when they're telling her this, the thing is cheesy and whatever. So I as much as I think that there's a lot of personal problems with Patty Jenkins, one of the personal problems is not that she didn't get the character, and she didn't get the, she didn't want to put out a good message, or that she was man-hating, or that that she all of this, that she was trying to take on Trump or whatever. All of that is nonsense. Okay, so I just don't have any, I have to defend Patty Jenkins at least against those charges. The film is just a bad film. It's not to do with, current politics and whatever. The film is just a bad film. And sorry, it does have some redeeming qualities as well. So it's not a complete dumpster fire. It's, a mediocre, in the middle of the pack comic book movie, but a severe disappointment for a Wonder Woman movie, and for a franchise that kicked off so great. Yeah, so that's me. Thank you.